So, joined the military at 17.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
why that? Talk about that. That's like right out of high school.
Okay, so if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Aaron Battley, and I joined the military at the age of 17, which is uncommon for some. And I would say my main reasoning would be that one, I would say, unlike others, I knew what I wanted to do with my life at a very young age, and that was to join the military. I knew that. Are we okay?
You're good. I may dip in and out, but I'm still here. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. So, myself, unlike many others, I would say I knew what I wanted to do at a very young age. I would say it wasn't a full thought out plan, but the concept, the foundation of the plan is what I knew. And that was to join the military. What MOS? I don't know, but I knew I wanted to join the military. My uncle was in the military. I come from a military family. My grandfather served in the military, and I wanted to follow in their footsteps and join the military. On top of that, as you may know, if you guys live in the beautiful country of the United States of America, college is expensive here. And so it just didn't make sense to me to go to college for 4 years and leave college with a lot of debt. To me, that just puts yourself in a hole and you're starting your life up, digging yourself from a hole. That didn't make sense to me where the military would just pay for your college and you would just get your degree with money in your pocket and experience. So to me, it was kind of a no brainer. And then on top of the travel aspect of the military, the camaraderie aspect of the military, and just the overall leadership skills that I've been developing in the military. And I have been documenting that on my YouTube channel. If you guys look at my oldest video to now, you guys can see a very, very stark difference. And I'm not going to lie, I have to give kudos where kudos is due. The military was a big factor in my transformation and the person who I became today.
Got you, got you. What was military family? So what did you go in expecting, and then what did you get out of it?
Yeah, so I feel like I share the same opinion of I feel like I share the same opinion of many other people who have nothing in terms of in terms of military actually insight, and that's why I wanted to create my YouTube channel in the first place, to kind of document my journey, to give people a insider look inside of what the actual military is. Because before I joined the military, my opinion would probably be like many others in terms of what you see on the movies, what you see in video games, what you see on social media, just pure the very, very dramatic basic training scenes where the drill sergeant is in the private's face, or the drill sergeant is punching, you know what I'm saying, just yelling at, just nobody's having a great time. And then once you pass basic training, it's just like strict. You're going to be marching everywhere. You're going to be having to carry your weapon 24/7. And so that was what I kind of thought what the military was going to be like, which later on I found out it is completely not like that.
What is it like?
So, in a nutshell, and many people say this in the military as well, and I do agree in some circumstances, but ultimately it's like a 9 to 5 job. Like, you
Okay.
have to do your job, right? And then to backpedal a little bit, I would say instead of a 9 to 5, it's like a 6 to 9. You know what I'm saying? Because you're
Yeah.
it's like a 6, sometimes 4 in the morning to 5. You know what I'm saying? So in the military, the main difference compared to the civilian world, and granted, this is up to the MOS that you choose, which is a whole nother case that we could get into later on.
Mhm.
But essentially, the military, I would say it's like a 9 to 5 job, but this job ensures that you're physically fit and that you can be able to operate and handle a weapon system. And so you wake up, you usually do your PT, which is at 0.6. And then also, this is dependent on what type of unit you go to, too, because some units you don't even do PT every day. But we could just go with a broad idea of the military and wake up at 0.6, go to PT formation at 0.630, do PT until 0.730, and then you get an hour and a half to take a shower and eat breakfast. You go back at 0.930, and then you're working until usually, hopefully, before 1700 or 1630, and that's 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. if you guys don't know what military 24-hour clock is.
Yeah. You were in South Korea, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was in South Korea for a year. Shout out to all my Katusas out there who helped a brother live and thrive in South Korea.
A Katusa, what is that?
So a Katusa, I do not know the full acronym for it, but it's pretty much, since the South Korean military mandates that every young male in the entire country has to serve, and since we're allied with the South Korean military to help integrate our troops with their troops, they have designated personnel. They call them Katusas, and they pretty much are just soldiers just like us, and they do the same job as us, and they are the liaisons for not only the culture, the language barrier, and just to help us have a smooth transition over there while working.
Got you, got you. What was that like? I've never been to South Korea. It's right up there, obviously, North Korea. North Korea, that border is heavily militarized, as would be obvious. What is that like? Like, in Kim Jong Un's backyard?
Yeah, so it's kind of, at first you get chills slash, it's a surreal experience once you get on the ground, because I personally myself, before I've been to South Korea, the only other country I've been to was Canada, but being in Canada, it's still majority English, so you're not really starstruck, and it's not really that much of a change. But once you get to South Korea, the language, the symbols, the writing is just all a shell shock. And in terms of the situation with North Korea and South Korea, it's definitely like, yo, any given moment in time, if something happens in the world, because there are instances where North Korea, they like to antagonize South Korea. We get news reports all the time where
Mhm.
North Korean soldiers are seeing how far they can get on South Korea's border. And then when we get those reports, it's like, okay, but it's kind of crazy. The people of South Korea are just numb to it. I would say kind of like the people in Ukraine after like the war ended in South Korea and North Korea, or actually it didn't end, but after the armistice, it's like life goes on anyway. So the people are pretty immune to it. It's just you get warnings every day potentially, but the people of South Korea just pretty much ignore them, honestly. And as a soldier, you kind of get in the flow of things as well, but you just try to do your job, live your life with that lingering potential threat while you're over there. Fortunately and thankfully, while I was serving, nothing serious happened other than the failed coup attempt of the government, which was crazy. All my Katusa friends were worried about their service, but other than that, it was once you get past the culture shock, it was pretty much normal.
Got you. What was that? A failed coup attempt in South Korea?
So, and then this is me just summarizing. I believe the government there, the sitting president at the time, he was facing charges. And so, in a last ditch effort, and then this can be all research as well to fact
Well,
check me, but he was under investigation. His wife and himself were potentially corrupt. And in a last ditch effort to not go to jail, he was going to overthrow the government pretty much. And he tried to get the military to, in a nutshell, just overpower the opposition political party, and it just didn't work. And it was crazy because like I'm getting phone calls, do not leave base, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're in South Korea, you have the freedom to travel all around South Korea. But when something like this happens, you
Mhm.
get a robocall, pretty much mass call and text to all the DoD employees and soldiers saying like stay inside, because there's protests all the time in South Korea about anti-America or anti-war, anti-military occupation, and it's a very, I would say it's a conservative, and I would still say respectful, but they definitely do let it known if they do not like something.
Gotcha. Would you say so? Do they see American troops there as an occupation more so than helping them, or how do they view it?
Well, so this is actually pretty interesting because I actually got to talk to a South Korean soldier, and it's actually on my YouTube channel, and I got to ask him the same question. And pretty much, for the most part, the majority of South Korea welcomes the United States of America. Like, I would say the sentiment there is that the presence of United States military is there to help and protect. And based off of the history in South Korea's history between Japan's occupation of the country and then the whole conflict with North Korea and South Korea and the United States has a very rich and strong bond where America pretty much saved the country. And so they definitely do not forget. And the people are very thankful most of the times while you're walking out in public, because if you see me in South Korea, it's either, he's in the military or he's a foreign teacher. So they say, "You army?" And then I say, "Yes, hello, annyeonghaseyo." That's what they say in South Korea. And then they say, they're very welcoming. Old ladies would give me food and stuff like that. And it was just a very good experience. So I would say the sentiment of the people of South Korea in terms of America and the military occupation there is pretty strong and pretty positive.
Got you, got you. Um, so you served, went in at 17. I hear that I think I saw that you posted moving to Thailand and getting out of the military. Is that an accurate portrayal?
So that's unconfirmed. Okay,
Okay,
that is
okay.
unconfirmed. So to give context, while you guys get, now this is at the time of the recording, right? And who knows what's going to happen, but one of the benefits of joining the military is you do in fact get to travel. And so I was blessed
Mhm.
with the opportunity to be stationed in South Korea, and one of the benefits of that was you get to travel to the countries close to South Korea, one of them being Thailand, which I went to. And not only that, I got to talk to one of my inspirations for not only YouTube and military life, Forrest Lee. He actually was in the military, got out the military, and now he lives full time in Thailand. And so I use that as an opportunity not only to visit Thailand because I'm a Muay Thai fanatic. I love Muay Thai martial arts. I got to do Muay Thai in the home country of where it started, which was amazing. The food was amazing. And so I got to experience life in Thailand as if I lived there for a week. And coming back after talking to my friend Forrest Lee and just seeing how not only he lives out there, but there's other Americans out there living too.
Mhm.
Thailand is a very serious destination where if I don't find what I, or rather, if I'm not happy in America, which I don't think, I would potentially be unhappy, but just to have that option, it's definitely will be taken if need be. And so I'm not going to say 100% for certain that I will be moving to Thailand after the military, but it is definitely an option.
Got you. So, um, it's an option. Got it. Got it. Got it. What do you think of UFC? Is that similar? That martial arts, is that similar to UFC? Do you even pay attention to UFC here? It's becoming more of an international thing, but it's really an American version. Do you pay attention to that at all?
Yeah, UFC, so Ultimate Fighting Champion, I think that's what it stands for. I'm a huge fan of UFC. I think
Okay.
before, I mean, Conor McGregor pretty much put it on the map, I would say,
Hmm.
if it wasn't on the map already. And then I'm a big fan of Israel Adesanya, and then right now, I think the Brazilian, I forgot his name. He's like Chama all the time. I forgot his name. But I love UFC. I love martial arts. I love two guys with no team, just their own individual skill and ability, just battling out to see who's the best man wins. Because between golf and UFC, those are like the sports where you go in the ring and you have no excuse other than your own lack of preparation or your own preparation. And
Mhm.
so to me, if you ask me, that's one of the hardest sports in the world, if you ask me, because I'm the type of person where I absolutely despise excuses. And so if you want to talk all this stuff on press conferences, we'll see if you can back it up. And I just think that's amazing. And I would totally, when I was in Fort Drum, my friend actually, there's, the amateur UFC fights in the military.
Mhm.
Not only in the military, we have combatives, but also you get the freedom to do fights within the local community. And when I was stationed in New York, my friend did one and he won. And I'm like, yo, and it's on the bucket list too. So I definitely do see myself getting in the ring myself when the time is right, of course.
Definitely. What's different, or what makes your particular version of martial arts different for those who aren't aware?
Well, so I personally like jujitsu and Muay Thai. I
Mhm.
don't like boxing. I used to do boxing a little bit, but boxing is it's too linear for me because in a street fight, you're not just going to be always standing up. It's not a fair fight. And so Muay Thai gives you the combination of your hands and feet, and then jujitsu is just perfect for when you're on the ground. And so that's my personal preference. If we're talking martial arts, what would you say for yours if you're into it?
Uh, I like the UFC style. Like, I like, that it's a street fight in a sense. Boxing, I've never really been a fan. I support. I like what's his face.
Tank Gervonta Davis?
No, he does.
Floyd
He doesn't box anymore.
Floyd
Mayweather.
Mayweather? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I like him. I respect him more so as a businessman, but um, I never could really get with boxing. It just never really. But when UFC came along, Dana White and all them people, and how he took that from basically being, because it was really essentially illegal here in the states. So he fought through that. Although there are congressmen attempted to make it illegal because they said it's bloody, it's brutal, it's what's the term they use? Savage, stuff like that. He essentially fought through all of that, and now, they're touring the country. They do some foreign stuff. They're touring the country mostly, um, selling out arenas. I think they sold out Madison Square Garden 3 or 4 times at this point. So, um, I like that style because, like you said, it's real. It's close to the real thing in terms of an all out street fight that you're gonna get. So I'm more of a UFC guy for sure, for sure. Yeah,
Definitely, yeah, I'm the same way. I actually do would love to go to one of the matches one day.
yeah, me too. I have never been in person. I was supposed to go. They had one in Las Vegas. I think end of last month, early this month, um, March 2025. So it didn't work out. But my goal is to go. Definitely want to sit down with Dana White. I think he's a business genius. Like the whole quote unquote empire that he's building with UFC. I think it's amazing. An alternative. Um, and another thing I like about UFC more so on the business side is that it takes these guys who they probably have nothing really else going in life, and gives them a path to success. They channel that aggression in a healthy way. Um, and that's what I like about fighting in general. I think that's like the unspoken or unknown, really, benefit of fighting. It particularly for men, obviously, women do it. I think there's a, a female UFC thing going, probably not as popular, but it helps men who I think need it channel that aggression and that type of physicality in a positive way. So that's what I like about fighting in general. And that's why I think, it's a good sport, and probably in a sense, it's right up there. It's better in my view than the all American sports of baseball, basketball, football, even. So I like that whole I guess the philosophy behind it too. So
What do you think of the power slap sport that he's trying to bring?
I don't know much about it. What is that?
It's essentially two dudes slapping each other until one falls.
uh okay, if that's the description, okay. I think that's probably more of a promotional thing, a publicity thing, to be honest. If that's the
Yeah.
if
Yeah, I
that's
don't know.
I don't know about that. I like the fight, the rounds, the technique. I don't know how much of a technique you have with slapping somebody. That's interesting. That's coming to the UFC.
It's not coming to the UFC. Dana White actually, it's been a new sport for I think 3 years now. And if you
Okay.
really look it up, it's literally a thing where two dudes stand up, they hold a little stick, and they just slap each other, and whoever falls, that's how they win.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, I gotta look into that. I definitely
Yeah.
look into that. So walk me through, martial arts, and I'm pretty sure you have a fitness regimen, fitness routine. What does that look like? Is it different, or is it the same, or does your what you do for the military complement what you do on your personal level? What is your fitness regimen?
So this is my personal fitness regimen. So I to make it easy to understand, I would say I'm on a push pull leg split, and in between my push pull legs, I do cardio. And whenever I have time, right now, unfortunately, I don't have time to train jujitsu or Muay Thai. I would either do one of those two martial arts in between on my cardio days, but in terms of what I usually do. And then, mind you, right, this is on top of the Army physical fitness because no matter if I do all this stuff on the side or don't, I'm still going to be working out with the Army. And so, usually, the Army, they're now moving towards a holistic health and fitness, which is more CrossFit oriented, which I would say does help with martial arts because it's cardio based. You're going to be not only working your muscles, but your heart rate's going to be pretty rapid and elevated while you're also working your muscles and stuff like that too. So
Mhm.
I would say it's a good balance, honestly.
Okay, okay. Push pull leg split. Okay, how many days are you working out? Like, is it 7 days?
So yeah, I work out 6 days a week. So
Okay.
Monday I got yes sir, yes sir. I'm a pretty if like I said, if you look back at my old videos on YouTube, I'm small as hell, but my goal was 200 pounds. And so I got addicted to the gym when I was in New York and Fort Drum because when I was in a field unit, I would be carrying combat personnel such as infantry, combat medics, and stuff like that. And so when we're carrying them on litters, we're not just carrying them, we're also carrying their gear. And so while we're out in the field exercise, I just told myself, I'm not going to be the person who stops somebody's life from being able to be saved because of my own physical fitness level. And so after that point, with addition of other things, I was committed to the gym. And now people ask me what I do for workout. I'm actually gonna come out with a workout regimen soon too, because people ask me so much and probably get into coaching as well. But that's pretty much what my physical fitness regimen is looking like right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're kind of getting a bit into your MOS. What is that? For those who aren't aware, and then what is your MOS?
Yeah, so the beauty of the Army is you not only get to choose your MOS, and my MOS is 68 Echo, dental specialist, right? The reason why I chose it is my recruiter gave me a list of jobs, and full transparency, full honestly, I looked at the list. I was like, which one is inside the most? I saw mechanic. I know they got dirty all day, and I know it's hot, long hours. And then combat medic, I know they're seeing crazy stuff. And boom, dental specialist. And then on top of that, before I go further, if you guys don't know what it is, it's pretty much a dental assistant. I assist a dentist with the patient. I seat the patient. I take X-rays. I clean teeth, or I'm capable of cleaning teeth. I'm capable of making your prosthetics in your mouth guards and stuff like that. But I chose that job because of pure, what is the easiest job? What is the easiest job on this list right now? Which
Yeah.
is funny because in the army, that may be the case before you ship off the basic training. You might get an easy job on paper, but you could be someone like me who goes to Fort Drum, New York, the most deployed unit in the military or the United States Army, and you get stationed with a field unit. And so I'm one of one in a unit of 3,000. And so if you don't know how it works, is there's brigade level echelons where you need within that unit a medical support echelon or a support unit, right? And
Mhm.
so for all of this 3,000 soldiers or however many is in the brigade, you got one of me. And then on top of that, I have to be at the same physical fitness level as them. I have to do the same training events like them. And so, although on paper I'm a dental assistant, I'm out there with the combat medics, M4 in my hand doing training events, and I'm doing exactly what they're doing. And it was not cash money.
Got you. When you say you're doing exactly what they're doing, what does that look like? Because you say dental system, I'm thinking you help clean teeth all day. What's like the day to day? What's the practicality of that?
Yeah. So, and then mind you, this is the beauty of the army again. You could go to all sorts of different units. And so my life in the BSB, which is a brigade support battalion, is pretty much taking care of the Humvees,
Mhm.
taking care of the FLAs, taking care of the LMTVs, going to the range, making sure that I'm proficient and qualifying on my weapon system. And on top of that, I also cross train with the medics doing IVs, litter carries, just stuff that I did not think I was going to be doing before I joined the army, but I just happened to be doing it. And so the only way you can get through it is go through it. And so I just faced it with a positive attitude and I got through it. And so it was pretty dope. Great learning lessons. I learned a lot doing Kazavex with the Blackhawks, just loading patients up and
Mhm.
whatnot. And it was a great experience all around.
Got you. So 17, how long you been in at this point?
Oh man, I've been in for like 6 years now.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That's a good amount of time. You chose that particular MOS. Um, Thinking back to that time when you were just doing this, right? You're obviously familiar with it, given your family's history, but thinking about the decisions you made going in, what would you do differently, if anything?
Honestly, I would get a higher ASVAB score and I would
Okay.
choose a better job. I would study a little bit more. I actually am coming out with a
What'd you get?
entity. I got a full transparency, and I'm not ashamed of it because I improved it. I'm working with an entity to come out with a guide actually, but I got a 41 the first time. That's what was enough to get my 68 Echo, and then I went to BSEP. If you're unfamiliar with BSEP, if you get a score in the military that you're able to get in the military,
Mhm.
or let me backtrack. If you're able to get if you got an ASVAB score of a 41, using myself as an example, and you want to increase it in the army, there's either a FAD class or a BSEP where you can increase it. And that's what I did. And now I have over an 88, I believe 88, 90. And so yeah, I'm not gonna say too much because it has a lot to do with my future in the military or not. But
Most
yeah.
definitely. Got you. Got you. Okay. That's a big increase though. That's a major increase.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't. I don't know what I was doing in high school, but I was not paying attention. I'll tell you that.
no, I was for me, so I did ROTC in high school the first 2 years, JROTC. And I thought this is gonna be it for me. I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be my life, 20 years, get out, retire. Then I changed my mind. And so I got out and then I got to college, and I went back into ROTC, um, Air Force ROTC. It was different, different branch. I said, "This is it. This is gonna be my life." And then I got out again, um, and so now I'm on my third. When I hit you up about this. I'm on my third. This is technically my third go around. And I think this is what I want to do. I'm mature, I'm grown up, all this stuff. So we'll see. I took the ASVAB. I think I got I actually got it right here. That test, man.
See, college student, college educated. Let's see what we get as that.
I ain't do too bad. I ain't do too good. Where is it? I got like I have right here. I got a 62.
Okay.
No. 66.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's coming with a college degree. So the test is it takes you back though. It's like I'm trying to remember how you do perimeter and the square root and all like what stuff I don't use in my regular life, but obviously I think you would, depending on what your MOS is, you probably would use a lot of stuff all the time. But it took me back for a minute. I felt like ACT all over again, to be honest with you.
Did you study for it at all or no?
No, so I did a practice. My recruiter gave me a practice. I did a practice. On a practice, I think I got like a 40 or so. And I took a note of what I needed to know, which was perimeter, which was area of this shape and circumference, all that stuff. I took a mental note of what I needed to know. And I just kind of watched, and this is not how people should study. Don't take my advice at all. But I just kind of watched YouTube videos about how to do that again, and it kind of jogged my memory. And so that's really all I did. And that's all the time I had to do because my crew was very adamant about me taking it within the next few weeks after the practice test. And so I just jogged my memory and just went in and did it. And then there are more questions. So you have, more questions in the practice. So I think I don't necessarily know if the practice that I was given was equal in the sense that there were more questions on the actual ASVAB than there are on the practice. I think if you're going to get a good gauge of where you are, you probably should do like a full length, like, the whole thing. But yeah, I didn't do too much study. I just kind of watched YouTube videos, which is not the best way to study at all. So yeah. Still in the process of going through a couple of things in terms of approvals and waivers and stuff. But I should know something in the next few weeks, actually.
Are you trying to go the officer route or enlisted?
I'm still debating that. What do you think is best?
Officer for sure. I mean, you already
Okay.
put the time in to get your bachelor's degree, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely it's definitely made, not even made. It's going to be a longer process to go in as an officer because you're gonna have to go through OCS or BOLIC and all that sort of stuff. But is if you're in a position where you can wait, you should totally go officer. Now, mind you, the thing about officers that you don't choose your job per se. You just have to get really good scores on all your academic tests while you're in that whole process. But you do have the chance of becoming like an infantry officer if you don't want to become an infantry officer or like a quartermaster for
Mhm.
logistics and supply and that sort of thing. But officers' lives are just genuinely of higher quality. You get paid more, you get BAH, which is pretty much the supplement for you to have your own place versus you living with random dudes who may not be clean as you or hygienic as you. It's
Yeah.
just, why not is pretty much what my whole rationale is, especially if you already have a degree.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of what my recruiter said. I most likely will. It will be a lot more time, but it's more likely worth it. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm praying to God these waivers go through, which I think they will. Um, So where are you what's your rank right now?
So I am a E5 sergeant.
Okay.
So I'm a non-commissioned officer. I lead soldiers, I mentor soldiers, I train soldiers. And yeah, I've been an E5 for about almost a year now. It's pretty cool.
Okay. How was that? How was that promotion? You know, how do you work towards that? Did you see it coming? Talk to me about that. Thank y'all for listening to all things Jay Shakur, be it Jay Shakur Uncensored, my long form talk, interview podcast, or the weekly brief where I bring you the news, not just the stories you know, but the stories you need to know. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share to this YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching or listening on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe, share this with others. Thank y'all for watching.
Yeah, so I am a E5, which is a sergeant in the military, United States Army, non-commissioned officer. I've been that for a little under a year now, and it's been pretty rewarding. I go from, whereas in the military, you go E1 through E4, and then E4 you could be a corporal, which is also kind of like a junior NCO or junior supervisor.
Mhm.
But to be honest with you, brother, I didn't think I was going to get promoted to E5 because in the military, in the Army, they don't really talk about this in the enlistment process, but like your MOS is very dependent on your career progression in the military. For an example, using myself as a 68 Echo, the promotion system in the military for the United States Army, at least, is a points based system, right?
Mhm.
And on top of that points based system, it's also based off of the number of current E5s or whatever rank you're trying to get up to. And so if there's max capacity E5s, the point system is going to be max points. And then how you get those points is having a high PT score, being physically fit, acing your physical fitness test, having a good marksmanship qualification, shooting 40 out of 40, going to college, getting your college degree,
Mhm.
having certifications, going to promotion boards, Soldier of the Month boards. And so, which to give you kind of an idea, me being a 68 Echo dental specialist, right? My points to get E5 where I'm at right now was a 560 points. But Johnny over here in the infantry, where they're historically known for lower points to hit E5, all they need is like 300 points, which is just maxing out PT, getting a good marksmanship qualification, and just not getting in trouble. And you're pretty much set. Where I have to get a associate's worth of credits of a degree while I'm getting my bachelor's, go to plenty Soldier of the Month boards, get plenty of awards, max out my marksmanship, max out my PT test. And so you guys can kind of see the discrepancies and the disparities between the MOSs in the military. And so if you guys are potentially looking at a potential MOS, also think long term of what the promotion rates are looking like as well.
Got you. Got you. So what was your I guess what was that moment you feel like, oh, I'm about to be promoted? When was that? How was
It
that?
was crazy. And I have to thank my first line supervisor in South Korea, Sergeant Summer. She actually, because how it also works in the military is when you're a junior soldier, pretty much a soldier that's not an E5, you have somebody in charge of you. And so if they're a good person and they actually care, they'll sit you down, they'll see where you're at in terms of your Army career, your physical fitness, and your marksmanship, and pretty much all the bases that make you a good soldier. And they come up with a plan to help you
Mhm.
reach your goals. And my first line supervisor at the time in South Korea, she pushed me to get points and promote. And I was in the van headed to another base in South Korea, and then I was sleeping, and then they woke me up and they said, "Congratulations!" Because how you find out is every month there's a list that comes out, and it goes in alphabetical order and based off of MOS. And like
Mhm.
for those that are close to the point level, because the points change every month, it could go down 10 points, 20 points, or go up 10 points, 20 points. And so it's pretty stressful, honestly, if you're really trying to make points and if you're close, because you never know if you do all this work for this month and then it just increases. But it felt honestly, because in the military, you will work a grade above or two grades above than what you are, honestly. And so, what I was doing versus what I was expected to be doing
Mhm.
after I reached E5 or when I got promoted wasn't different. So, I got excited about the pay raise, but in terms of like, yo, I'm getting promoted. Well, thank you. I'm just gonna be actually paid what I should have been getting paid for all the work that I've been doing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm. And also I think, leading people. How's that? Well, if my math is right, you're what, 23, 24? Uh
Yes, I am 23, 24.
ser-
So,
serving you're leading people. How's that? That's like young, like crazy.
so a little context about me. I used to work at Six Flags and I was a supervisor at the age of 17 at Six Flags. So, in combination with ROTC in high school,
Mhm.
I didn't have complete no experience leading people because the biggest thing in the military or the biggest thing that was I wouldn't say obstacle, but like something that you're gonna have to get past is that me and my peers, and this is a conundrum with among the military when people rank up, but you no longer are peer to peer, you're boss to peer. And so with only that being so close together, and then you go from peer to peer to being boss, you have to set boundaries. You have to go through that whole like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cool, but like, if I don't get this done, if we don't get this done, that's on me. And like, I'm gonna have to punish you. And so getting over that aspect is you just have to get over it. It's honestly not pretty. You can make it as smooth as possible by just being as transparent, like, hey, this is why I'm doing it, which I would personally like to do. That's my style. Like I like to explain why things are happening. But between you becoming the boss of your friends and then also just telling people who are one the same age as you and two people who are older than you what to do, some people don't like that, and it's like, yo, well, sucks to suck, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to treat you with respect, but
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, my brother, like, yo, this is the organization that you voluntarily decided to join.
Yeah. So essentially, like 23, 24, you could have someone reporting to you that's 30, 40, essentially.
Yeah, so my for an example, I mean, my soldier right now, he's a year older than me. He's 24, and then before she left, I had a corporal. She was 27,
Mhm.
and it's like how you carry yourself and how you present yourself. I'm sure you're familiar with the saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And as an E5 sergeant, you know what I'm saying? I get mistaken to being older because I mean you can't really conduct yourself as a immature
Mhm.
and inexperienced. You got to just be mature about everything and just say it tactfully. And then if there's a problem, I mean, if there's conflict, there's conflict. Just take it as a lesson, learn how to be a better leader. But it is what it is.
Definitely, definitely. So, um, when it comes to leadership, what have you learned? Obviously, essentially, you're saying you've been leading since 17 already. Six Flags. What have you learned about leadership? Like, what makes a good leader?
So honestly, I would say it is someone who is transparent, because someone who just tells you what to do all the time, doesn't explain why you should care about what you're doing, wouldn't be someone who is well received to me if I was the one getting the orders. And so I always try to have my leadership style for someone who I myself would want to be led from. And so it's it's a cool, rewarding experience. It's just showing yourself that you can do things that you didn't think you would be able to do. Like at Six Flags, I was telling people who could be my parents, my mom, my dad, like time to go to break. It was crazy to me at 17. And so it's like I said with everything, it's a little culture shock at first, but you definitely get used to it. And as long as you're respectful about it,
Mhm.
you'll be okay.
Definitely, definitely. Um, why do you think like you very sure of what you want to do, very sure of yourself? It seems like since a lot of people 17, 18, 19, early 20s, they playing around, I was the same way, um, and I'm not, I may appear older than crazy older than you. I'm not that much older than you. I'm like, what am I? I'm 3 years older than you. But so I get it, in the sense of being a part of the that group that's very serious, very about their business. What why do you think you were that way? Was it, how you were raised? What pushed you to be that, that headstrong?
Well, I come from there's a plethora of things that paved the way for me to know what I wanted to do at a very young age. One of them will be very strict parents. Shout out to my mother and father. I'm blessed to have both parents in the household. And I'm not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? They were strict. They were strict
Yeah.
and they just to a independent 17-year-old who knew everything, couldn't be told anything. It was just like, okay, this isn't gonna work out. You guys are I don't like being told what to do. I think I know what to do. I think I should be able to make decisions, et cetera, et cetera. And so having strict parents, I wouldn't say coming from financial insecurity, but just not having what I want when I want. And so what that led me to do was figure out how to get what I want. And so I'm also the youngest out of five. And so you get to see what their lives look like after the high school. Okay, what do they do? Do I want to follow in their footsteps? How's that working out for them? And so a combination of that and just pop culture, military propaganda. I hate to say it. Call of Duty and Black Hawk Down. I knew for a fact I wanted to join the military because I get to be my own person. Although Uncle Sam has the overall say of what I get to do for a period of time, but like once you get past basic training in AIT, you're pretty much your own person. I was very independent at a young age and like it just wasn't working out with my parents. I just did not feel it was the best fit for me to stay. And so it allowed me to be my own man. I said that already. Two, save some money. It just did not make sense to me to go to college for something that I didn't even know for sure that I wanted to do and get all this debt. And looking at today's times, you're not even guaranteed a job anymore. And so it just
No.
doesn't make sense to take that risk of a lifetime of, or pretty much your whole working life in debt for
Yeah.
something that you don't even use. And so I was one of the ones in high school that was like paying attention to all this instead of just like watching Fortnite videos. It was just like,
Yeah.
yo, like freaking Dave Ramsey's over here talking about save your money, or like
Okay, Dave Ramsey. Okay.
Graham Steffens telling me to save money to buy a house. Okay, what's the best way to do that? Join the military. Essentially, the military was the best option to get to where I wanted to go the fastest, honestly. The fastest and with the least amount of debt.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. I went to college. I don't necessarily regret. I think it was okay for me at the time. I think I got out right before, you know. and it's probably been decades, but I got out right before I feel college became, unless you're trying to be like a doctor or a lawyer or
STEM.
it's something like that, yeah. And even still, you can kind of if you can kind of go the military route if that's something on the table for you. But if you're trying to be that, um, go to college. You don't do all that. We need lawyers, we need doctors, we need all that. But if you're going to sit there and study, and no offense, but if you're going to sit there and study, gender, if your major is going to be gender studies, and you're going to pay $100,000 a year, come on now. And 85% of that, 90% of that is our loans. Like, come on, it's a better way. And I don't think a lot of people think like that. I have friends that they were the gender study majors and all that stuff, um, and the student loan debt is crazy. And I have it. I was a journalism major, um, and I kind of think, at a certain point, journalism used to be a trade. Like you didn't have to go to school to do this, or jobs didn't require you to have a bachelor's to report the news, but now they do. Um, and so, or most of them do. Not everybody in the industry has a degree or went to college to study journalism, but a lot of people did. So I definitely think that it's a lot of wisdom in looking at other options. It may not be the military, it may not be college, maybe some type of trade school, which they still exist. I know plumbers, electricians making six figures, high six figures, making more than me, and they didn't sit after high school. They didn't sit in a classroom beyond what they had to do to get certified to be a plumber. So I definitely think there are other options out there. Do you think what would be your advice to that person that's 16, 17, you 6 years ago? What would be your advice to you 6 years ago?
I would I would honestly, so for me, I can't really talk to myself because I knew for sure that I wanted to join the military. And so I'll
Or
speak to
somebody
somebody.
like you that doesn't know?
Okay. Look, brother, you may feel as though you have time to figure things out, which you do, right? You're still in high school. You do have time to figure things out, but you exceptionally make your life easier by knowing what you want to do or having at least an idea of what you want to do. It doesn't even have to be an occupation. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to feel when you go to work? Do you want to be energized? Do you want to be inspired when you go to work? Do you want to be proud of what you do? How many days do you want to work? What type of car do you want to drive? And I would just figure out how much all of that stuff costs, right? And I would come back to where I'm at and I would look at gender studies majors and I would realize that this is $100,000 degree in debt that only pays me $50,000 a year. And so I'm not going to do that. And so I'm going to look at the next best thing. I'm going to look at my skills, my physical attributes, what I am good at, what I enjoy doing. And if the military is that, then so be it. Or go to a trade because even on my channel, I do not preach join the military, join the military, the military is not for everybody. The military can be a great addition to one's life if they are seeking direction, purpose, and just more time to figure out what they want to do with their life by doing things to X out that they know for sure that they don't want to do by process of elimination. And so, as long as you don't do anything and get in a lot of debt, you will be ahead of like 50, 60, 70% of 70% of Americans, I feel like.
For sure, for sure. I tell people college is not for everybody. Education is for everybody, but college may not be for everybody. And you should be learning beyond the classroom anyway. And so I always tell people, even if it's a year, take a year to figure out after high school, because we've been programmed. And it used to be this way. Like my grandmother didn't wasn't programmed like this. Not necessarily my mother either. She was more so, but they weren't programmed, uh, elementary school, middle school, high school, college. You got to do all of them. They were programmed, and you need to get out of high school, but you need to then go in. For my grandmother's more so go have a family, because she was of that era, that age. But still, I think it was some value in that. Um, what do you think, or I guess I think you have an interesting perspective. You may have an interesting perspective on this. Fortunate enough to have both parents present, active. Um, I think it was in your Thailand video. Uh, we were introduced, maybe for, at least to me, introduced to your brother, for I think a bit, maybe, or it was like a flashback or something. But having that family unit, what has that, and I think there are obvious reasons, but or obvious things, but what has that contributed? How has that helped? What do you think? Because I think that's missing in a lot of people's lives.
Well, so me personally, as the youngest brother, I would say it just provided me that competitive aspect because
Okay.
the youngest brother always wants to do what everybody else is doing. Why does he get to do that, but I can't do that? And so I said this in one of my other videos as well. I'm the only one in my family, my sister included, where my height is 5 and everybody else starts with a 6. You know what I'm saying? So
Really?
I am a very, very competitive person based off of that. I played sports all my life, and it was just like all my life, it was a competition to see who could do what better than the other. And you could go into the support aspect of things like, yes, sure, they're there, they're definitely there for me, which is invaluable, and especially in terms of like school settings and just social aspects. Some you can ask them like, yo, like what should I do in this situation, which is definitely invaluable because people who don't have that oftentimes find the answer in the wrong places, and that just leads to bad decisions, going into the wrong crowds, running with the wrong people, because many people really just want to feel like they're a part of a family, just a part of something. That's why the military is a great organization, and that's why the transition to get out of the military is so hard, because you were a part, although it might not be the best family, you're a part
Mhm.
of a family. And so a lot of people just honestly just crave the simple human feeling of belonging and being a part of something bigger than themselves, and just having two parents, siblings. I never had to seek that. So I was just always able to focus on things that I wanted to do and that could better me.
Got you. You mentioned that the competitor. I never even thought about that, and I think there's being competitive has this negative connotation all the time, and I don't necessarily think it, should. I think there's always room for healthy competition, and that makes you a better person, whoever you may be, whoever you're competing with, even if it is in a sense with your siblings. It's a healthy camaraderie there, like, hey, I'm gonna do this better than you, or whatever, right? Or I'm gonna achieve this, whatever. And that pushes, I think, all people, if it's done out of a place of love, which obviously with family it is and should be, that could that pushes everybody along. Because if everybody's aiming for something, they're gonna they're gonna hit some type of target. But if no one's aiming, you know, and they have no motivation to aim, then they're not gonna hit anything. So I didn't even think about family and competition, all that. And then like that positive, aspect of it. Um, what's the future? Like military, family, what's that looking like for you? Maybe Thailand, as we talked about, but what's that looking like for you?
So since I'm a big supporter of the Jay Shakir Uncensored show, I mean, I go ahead and drop it. I do firmly believe of keeping your goals and your aspirations to yourself until you do them. I don't like personally sharing my goals
Okay.
until I accomplish. I just
That's a
think,
smart answer. That's a very smart answer.
but I definitely do I am a huge proponent of look before you leap. And so, whatever decision I do make, if it's to stay in the military or to get out of the military, I will be actively doing it before I leave the military. And right now, it's looking like tech. I am about to get my bachelor's in cybersecurity and information assurance. Just got my network plus, security plus, all that other good stuff. And so right now, I'm just stacking up skills to make me as valuable as possible in terms of family. I mean, we'll see down the line, but I mean, no kids. So
Mhm.
yeah. But Thailand will always be a wild card that I will have the pool when, like I always said myself, because I went to Bali and Thailand. I like Thailand better,
Mhm.
but if I don't make it in America, I'll just go to Thailand and still consider myself a winner. Honestly, it's just like the cost of living there. If you want to live like a king, you will definitely be able to comfortably over there.
Okay, where are you now? You're back in
So I'm
America,
in,
right?
I'm back in America, Georgia, Fort
Okay.
Stewart, stationed out here in Fort Stewart.
Okay. Okay. Um, how's that out there?
Ta.
Is that where they do, I think that's one of the for the basic training, I think that's one of is that the base or is it another one in Georgia?
You're talking about Fort Benning, Georgia.
Okay. So that's a different. Okay.
Yep,
Gotcha.
yep, yep. But Fort Stewart, I love it. I mean, it's it's a military town, you know what I'm saying? And once you
Mhm.
go to one military town, you've practically seen them all. I love the South. I love the South. The food's amazing. The hospitality, the just the overall culture. I mean, you and I both are from Illinois. I just hate the snow. So just
You hate
being
the snow?
able, I hate the snow. I
What part of
hate.
Illinois are you from again?
I don't know if you know where Waukegan's at or Zion.
Oh, yeah, 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 of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm not. I don't. I like long game, long game. I'm not coming back to Illinois. I'm not gonna cap to you. I'm
Is your family still there?
yes, my mother, my brothers, yeah, my mom and my brothers. One is in Wisconsin, so yeah. I mean, I go up there to visit, but to stay, yeah, no, it's all. I'm down Atlanta area because I mean, a little bit about me. Most of my family is in Louisiana and Georgia, so
Okay.
we were kind of the outliers that migrated up north. And I don't know why we did that. We should have stayed back in good old South.
I guess so. I'm from Chicago, and I'm glad you're not one of the people that from Waukegan but claim Chicago. Thank God.
Oh,
Oh,
dude.
those people drive me crazy, bro. Like they drive me nuts when they do that. They've never even been to Chicago, and they're talking about where you from. Oh, I'm from Chicago. No, you're not. Anyway, um, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I just hate when people do that. But from Chicago, born and raised, West Side Chicago, um, and then I left Chicago, went to DC um, for college. Stayed in DC for 5 years, 4 years of college, 1 year out of college, working, and then since I've gotten into doing my day job, TV news, uh, which our industry is struggling right now. But since I got into doing that full time, I've only been in the South. So I was in Louisiana in Shreveport, worked there, and then I was in Tennessee and Memphis. And now I'm back in the Midwest in Cincinnati, Ohio. And this was like my first real winter in like 4 or 5 years. And so it takes a bit of an adjustment, to get used to a Midwestern winter. I thought, people like, oh, you're from Chicago, you should be used to it.
Yeah, no.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
But I still like it. I still like it. Would I go back home to Chicago now at this point in my life? No, I'm kind of like you in the sense of I want to be away for a minute, but I think maybe one day I'll go back to the snow and the ice and all that stuff at some point. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so Georgia. Okay. What's your process, your creative process? Your videos are very, and that's how I found you. Your videos. What's that creative process like? They're very. It's a lot of work. It's probably like a second, depending on how consistently you want to do it. It can be a second job.
I don't like boring sh. Can I cuss?
Whatever you want to do.
I don't like. I do not. I despise. I hate watching boring shit. Right. So I the high school that I went to was a project based curriculum where you would develop PowerPoints, you would develop videos, you had to be creative in a sense. And so that kind of set the foundation for the style with the inspiration of Casey Neistat and that whole era of YouTubers. Because I love YouTube back then. I don't watch it now. I consider most of it brain rot now at the
Really?
state. Yeah,
Really?
at brain rot, my brother.
It's going through like I think it's going through like a renaissance though. Like you had
Brain rot.
what do you mean by that? Like what do you mean by that? Brain rot.
So before I continue my creative process, I'm not even, and this is as a creator myself,
Mhm.
I am 100% against social media. If I did not create, I would have zero social media. And it's just the mental, the mental side effects that social media, not only upon society, has caused for at the bottom line for what your attention to be what looked at ads for. That's all it is, just so you can look at more advertisements. They do
Okay.
not care about your physical well-being. They don't. And when I say they, I mean the companies, right?
Mhm.
And so you have children who are depressed, and this is just me going on a rant, but you have people who are self-diagnosing themselves because they've seen a TikTok video of somebody else rambling on who doesn't even know how to prescribe themselves, who isn't a licensed therapist, who just came up with these thoughts. But since social media is so unfiltered, anybody could be a somebody as long as you present yourself like a pig with lipstick on. As long as you present yourself in a certain way,
Mhm.
you are now a authoritative figure in your area of expertise. And so I don't like that aspect of it because you're teaching young minds that you are depressed or you are this, you have that. Like, no, just go outside. Like, you don't see kids playing outside a lot nowadays anymore. Everybody's cooped up in a room looking at a screen. And as a 23-year-old, I don't even like that. I try to be outside as much as possible. I try to have as little screen time as possible because they call them NPCs nowadays because you see people don't, and then you're a journalist as well. You see people don't even make their own opinions on matters anymore, and you see one celebrity say this, okay, now I'm on that bandwagon versus doing their own research. And that's a whole nother segue we could get into. But going on to the fact why I despise social media is it's just the very, very vague intent of, yeah, you get to connect people and you get to talk to people all over the world. Sure, that's fine. Connecting people all over the world, sharing ideas but like you got 20-year-olds comparing themselves to some Instagram guru who has a Lamborghini he rented for a day. He's thinking he's not doing enough. And it's just like, yo, like society, it's not in a good place. I feel as though.
No, I think that's smart. Usually older people say that, but I agree with you. Like yeah, I agree with you. And I think there are certain and it's hard to police that, without this is Americans, without, the whole free speech type thing, um, or argument. But it literally is a problem. Like people don't go out anymore. People don't know how to talk to people. One thing that drives me crazy, and I'm a horrible texter. Anybody that knows me knows that. Like it's gonna take a minute for me to get back to you. Um, I'd rather you call me or whatever. But one thing I hate is people in the same room texting. Like we're sitting on opposite ends of the room and you're texting me. Just come talk to me, Um, even at work, we're in the same TV station, same building, and you're texting me. come to walk to my desk, come to my, stuff like that. And I think that's part of that whole culture of being online, being in front of the screen all the time. How did you get to that point? Like, how did you know this is a problem? Like, did you always approach social media that way, or were you like, did you find how did you get to that point where you know this? Yeah, this is a problem. I need to limit my screen time.
Well, so it got a problem where it got to be a problem for me when you crave your phone. You don't feel right when you don't have your phone in your hand. Your instant thought, your instant action when you're not doing anything physically and actively is to reach in your pocket and pull out your phone to fill that void of time. Like when you're waiting in line at CVS, instant reaction, go to your phone, go to your phone. I forced myself to just stand and be in the moment because it's not even safe to do that. You know what I'm saying? You want to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
But not only that, and it's just like I find myself closing Instagram, immediately going back into Instagram. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and then it's offensive to me. In it kind of made me mad. Is like companies spend billions and billions of dollars on research departments to find out ways to make you more engaged and more addicted to their app, their food, their phone, their device. Like they're literally trying to steal your attention of what's more important to you, but they want you to be like this whole scrolling is like a scientifically backed like gesture that implements dopamine. Like there's studies and
Yeah.
stuff, research all about it, and that's just like scared of me. It's like I'm a type of person, I consider myself a free thinker. I think my own thoughts because I myself looked at each research paper or source and develop my own opinion. I don't like people speaking for me. And on top of that, I like to be in control of myself. And so when I'm literally reaching for my phone, because one exercise that I've been doing is before I do something, I ask myself, why am I doing this? And so if I can't answer why am I picking up my phone? Oh, I'm going to text this person. I'm just picking up my phone to pick up my phone. I'm not going to do that. And so if you extrapolate that, if you look at that at a larger lens at people who aren't cognizant of that, you
Mhm.
get whereas you see nowadays the kids, they don't know how to socialize, which makes it way easier for me. Every opportunity that I've gotten in life is based off of my social skills. I love talking to people in person. I love getting to connect with you. I recommend everybody to read the book How to Win Friends or How to Gain Friends and Win Influence, something like that by I forgot his name, but
Mhm.
it sucks for them, but it makes it easier for people like me who knows how to personally interact. I know how to talk to somebody in person, and I know how to convey myself in a way that we feel as though that we've known each other for a year, but this is our first interaction. And so the last point that I'll say before we can go on to continue the conversation is that when I was in Korea, the party scene is wild, right? And you've probably been into a club scene where you could go into a section, right?
Mhm.
And what shocked me the most is like everybody's just in their phones in a section when when they pay to be in a place to be dancing and having fun. And I'm like, yeah, this is terrible. This is bad. But you got people on social media calling things cringe, and you got people trying to like people are too busy worried about what other people are thinking because of social media. I feel as though as well too. You got people who don't want to end up on the internet looking, you know what I'm saying? So I like to live in a moment. Social media is a no for me unless I'm making money off of it or I'm helping other people. It's like, yeah, no.
Gotcha. And that the creativity, that making money, creativity, your process. Um, but for your videos and YouTube, essentially content creation, you said you wouldn't even be a part of the whole social media stratosphere. So what's your creative process?
So my creative process, how can I make the most engaging, entertaining, educational video possible? And so we as creators, because you're a creator yourself, we are our hardest critics. So I literally watch my videos 1,000 times, not 1,000, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
And I watch it back like, would I watch this? Because like if I watch a video and I don't think it's good and I don't think it's interactive or engaging enough, you're not going to watch that video. And so I don't go in with the attitude of, oh, I put this out there, watch it. You guys are entitled, or I'm entitled for you guys to watch it. No, I literally just I don't watch movies or mainstream TV anymore, but I watch my main creators. I don't even watch YouTube anymore, so I can't even say that now. But when I used to watch Casey Neistat, Sneeko, all these other creatives, Erica Burney, Nava the Beast, all these other YouTube creators, I liked how they did their videos, and then I just added my own twist to it.
Mhm.
And I like making money, and in the season of life that I'm in right now is kind of making as much money as possible. So how can I bring my social media audience? Because I feel as though my social media audience, and this is one of the good things about social media, because as we stray further and further away from human physical contact, if you don't have a presence online, you are not going to be meeting anybody. Like, how did you meet me? You met me through the internet. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure there's 20, 30 different people just like me who may even better than me, but they just don't have an online presence. And so I am fixated at being the best at everything that I do. And when you are fixated on the best, you attract the best. And so that's one of the that's one of the beauties of social media, is that you attract what you put out. It's literally like the law of attraction right in front of your face. It's pretty dope.
For sure. Um, given the I've always wanted to ask somebody that actively serves this. Given 6 years in the military, you've had, if I'm looking at this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you've had President Trump 1.0, President Biden as your commander in chief, and then now you have Trump again, President Trump 2.0 as your commander in chief. Obviously, the military serves at the will of the president. He is the commander in chief, or she one day will be the commander in chief. Um, how do you continue to serve? I know you have to be very careful how you answer this question. How do you continue to serve, given the inherent nature of the presidency is political, obviously? So how do you continue to serve in the changing, with the changing of the presidents? How do you focus in and say, okay, Trump's president, Biden's president, Trump's president again, I'm serving. How do you focus in on that? Like, how do you approach that?
I don't have a choice but to. The 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 thing about the military is that you volunteered to do this. Like, they're not going to make sure that you know what you're going to get yourself into. They will just tell you, like, oh yeah, after you sign this contract, you're gonna go to jail if you don't fulfill the contract unless you get like medically separated. And so when it comes to changing of the presidents, ultimately, we as human beings and individuals have our favorites and our who we would rather's and what would be rather done than that. But as a soldier, you can't show that. And to directly answer your question, it's just another day at the job for me, unless you get the policy changes like DEI is being removed. And then it's like, yo, me personally, it's crazy, because it's like I'm literally living through history right now, because I talked to plenty of veterans, and don't ask, don't tell was a thing. And then when that got removed, it was a big thing for them too. And so I like to go with the mindset of the military isn't a unique experience. Everything that you're going through right now has been done by somebody else 5 years down the road before. And so, how I just continue to work is having that overhanging pressure of going to jail if I don't continue to do my job, definitely plays a big role.
Mhm.
But I look back to the reason why I joined in the first place. Why did I join in the first place? To honor the legacy of my family, to provide better opportunities for myself and my potential family. And as long as those goals are still in reach, and as long as those goals in the military, or as long as those goals are still achievable while in the military, it's not a hard ask to continue serving in the military. Now, if there's legislation that affects my day to day, that affects my life, my creed, what I personally believe in, then we would start to go into, okay, is this what I want to continue doing? Serving potentially for an organization who does not serve for me. And that's a whole nother discussion. But in terms of different presidents, you just play it by ear. This is my third president, you're correct, or third, I guess, second president, but
Mhm.
third presidency. It's, you just play it by ear. You control what you control, and just let what you can't control play itself out.
Definitely. Um, is there a sense of because you're a soldier, you're trained to be a soldier. If you're called to actually go to combat, I'm pretty sure uh, you will have to do that. Um, I, we're at this point where, and I want to be careful what I have to say too, because I'll be in your shoes hopefully one day soon. Um, we're at this point where you hear World War Three. That's like the buzzword. I imagine this is how my grandparents or great grandparents felt about World War II or whatever. Um, but you hear it constantly. The now famous Oval Office um, argument between President Zelensky, Vice President, and President Trump. One of the big things that came out of that was President Trump saying that this situation is quote exact quote, you're playing with World War III. And so a lot of people have had their takes or thoughts about that in terms of where we're going in terms of war. You got Russia, Ukraine, you got the Middle East, all this stuff is going on. Um, you're trained to be a soldier, you're trained to fight. Um, do you think we can be, or do you, I don't want to phrase this. There's a side that says they're anti-war. We shouldn't fight anything, let it go. Let's peace kumbaya. There's another side, and it's not a political thing. It's not like Democrats believe this one thing, Republicans believe this one thing, whatever. Both sides have both of these types of people on it, so it's not like a political thing. But then you have other people that are like, no, we need to fight. We need to ensure that we defend X, Y, Z for whatever reason. Do you think we are closer to World War III, as they say, or is that just a misconception coming from civilians?
Well, so this is a very, and it's, to kind of put it in a funny way, this is pretty. I saw TikTok, although I despise the app. The the creator said we're currently living through World War III. What, like, and then my question for you is, what is your definition of World War III?
Mm,
Because
that's a good question.
Yeah, because to put it in context, right, and then just looking back at history, World War II, World War One, nobody had nuclear weapons, right?
Mhm.
So at least that we know of, and so full on land invasions, full on armies, uniformed, not guerrilla style armies would go on the battlefield and fight. You got United States of America going up against the Axis, Germany, Japan, and so that's World War II, to fight evil and to, but, and then I'm not entirely sure of what the definition of World War II was. But my point where I'm getting at is that World War III is, in my opinion, happening right now. Honestly, you can't
Mm,
really just do what we did in World War II to proclaim World War III is happening right now. What we've been doing for the past 20 to 10 past decades is through proxy wars. And then what's happening in Russia and Ukraine is pretty stark. And that's kind of that's a melting pot in itself. But the superpowers of the world right now aren't operating under direct actions like they were in World War II times. It's just through proxies, through whatever militia group that they support covertly through their covert ops department. Because if you ever wonder when you hear the news, because this is what I wonder when I hear the news, what ex militia group or ISIS is this, and it's like, who's giving these guys the guns? You know what I'm saying? And so when you ask me the question, are we closer to World War III? My personal opinion is no. I don't think we ever will see a World War III. The quote to kind of remix Albert Einstein, but we'll get to see World War IV, meaning like if it like nukes, or we're just gonna, to make my point more organized, unless it gets to nuclear weapons, it's just gonna be proxies or espionage culturally through whatever shell company from X government overseas to kind of destabilize the government.
Mhm.
But I don't think we are in, I don't think we are closer to World War III than we were closer to it than 10 to 20 years ago, because what we were doing 10 to 20 years ago, besides the current conflict, Russia and Ukraine, we were still, I mean, the United States and every other country, every other superpower still have their covert operations. And
Mhm.
they, I mean, in the army, there's literally psyops, and they recruit and they tell you what their whole job is to do. And so, but to kind of, what do you think is, what would you consider World War III be?
That's a good question. I've always pictured World War III being the superpowers in a hot war with each other directly. Russia, China, the US, EU, um, fighting on land, sea, and air directly. Um, that's what I've always pictured it to be, with the very close possibility of exchanging nuclear fire or deploying nuclear weapons. Um, Russia, by by all accounts, is in terms of land mass is the largest continental country, um, and has a ton of nukes, right? And so that's part of the reason they still remain on, at least on the world stage, relevant. You know what I mean? If they were um, Thailand, no one would care. Um, so that's why they're still in the conversation, in the news every day. Um, Same thing with China. So um, I've always pictured it being that. Uh, the superpowers directly fighting each other. Right now, it's proxy wars. Like, you could even argue, you could argue some of the stuff that's happening currently is our proxy wars. We fund it. We send the money, send the maids, and the weapons, train them, all this stuff. So um, that's what I've viewed as World War III, directly fighting each other. And I think people attempting to quote unquote avoid a World War III is attempting to avoid American troops on the ground killing Russian troops and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Or uh, EU troops on the ground directly in combat on the battlefield, pushing off Russian soldiers and stuff like that. That's how I've always viewed it. But I think maybe that's like a part of it, and maybe we are in it already, and we just haven't. Because who's to say, who declares it World War whatever? When, who has that authority? I don't think World War II or World War One was declared that until after, in a historical way, like people looking back at it. So
Definitely.
I think it's a fair question. I think it's a fair question. Because it's not like it's a series. People knew, okay, we're gonna have World War One at this, and then we're gonna work. So it varies, but we could possibly be in it already. I guess the thing is, how do we prevent nuclear war, regardless if we say that's World War III or not? How do we prevent nuclear war? We were here in during the Cold War. It was a standoff. We were Cuban Missile Crisis, all that stuff. How do we prevent nuclear weapons from being deployed? Because we saw what happened in Japan. We saw what the power of the atomic bomb, but we saw essentially the power of that level of weaponry. How do we prevent that from being deployed and used on any level? Because the moment you deploy a nuke, that's it, right? Um, you can hurt a lot of people very quickly, um, and not expend a lot of resource. So that's, I think, more, I guess, the better question, you know. Um, but I do think it's fair to ask: are we not already there? And we very well could be. Who knows? Yeah,
Did you want me to answer the how do we prevent nuclear war?
yeah. What do you think? You're a soldier, so what do you think?
So, although I am not the most combative arms in the military right now, I would say my personal opinion, this is just based off of what I think and based off of my very small scope of history and geopolitical instances in the past, but the best offensive the best offense is defense, and it sucks, but humans have been fighting since the dawn of time. I don't think that's ever going to stop. I just think that's a part of human nature, and in order to ensure your survival is to just have this defensive posture that signifies that, hey, if you mess with me, you're not going to come out alive. And so it's been working for however long has we've been having nuclear weapons, as far as like the whole mad policy, mutually assured destruction. And so I think right now we can just only focus on making sure that nuclear weapons don't get in the hands of people who are totally in in totally outlaw. And then in terms of political stances, just try to work out everything with diplomacy. But we'll get to a point, potentially, hopefully not in your lifetime or my lifetime, where diplomacy ain't working and it ain't the answer, because I don't think nukes are ever going to go away.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think at one point it was like, okay, U.S. we want to destroy our nukes, and then Russia and all other nuclear armed countries, let's destroy our nukes together. And that hasn't happened, obviously. Um, so yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. I'm more so the type that is, yeah, you need to be very defensive. You need to, if you mess with me, you're gonna be dead. Like I said, there's no conversation there. If you harm me, I'm coming after you. I'm very much so pro that approach. But I think the other side, I think, or to balance it, just because you are the superpower, or just because you hold, I'm not gonna use that term, just because you have the upper hand in a situation or conflict or on the world stage, that gives you more responsibility to be more careful. So don't go provoking people unnecessarily, or stay out of people's stuff unless they bring you into it. So I think there's like have we reached that balance? I don't know. I don't know. So that's complicated. That's complicated, heavy stuff there. Very complicated, heavy stuff. Final thing for you. What are you reading? Are you a reader? What are you reading? What type of books are you reading?
Sure am. I try to strive for a book a month,
Okay.
and I am currently reading, and this is what's going on into what is potentially in my future for the channel. But I'm currently reading No BS Marketing to the Affluent. So pretty much how
Okay.
to sell to the rich. I would say my favorite book though would be, let's see, if you're in the military, you get Audible for free though too, by the way. I would
Okay.
say my favorite book is How to Win Friends and Gain Influence. That's my all-time favorite. And I would also say the I don't know if you read this. Let's see if I can find it. Psychonatrix is a pretty good book. It's
Psychonatrix.
yeah, let me
Okay.
see if I said that right. I have it somewhere. Let's see. But pretty much my friend who makes yeah, Psycho Cybernetics actually
Okay.
by by who's it by? By Maxwell Maltz. But pretty much it just once you learn how to unlock your brain, once you start working towards self, I forgot the term for it, but like everything you do has a reason behind it. Everything you
Mhm.
eat, there's a reason. You're not a, for lack of a better term, an NPC. You're not a robot. You're doing things deliberately, and self-actualization is what the term is called.
Okay.
Once you start working towards that, you will be surprised how free you feel. Because at the end of the day, I feel like as humans, that's what our whole mantra is about, is to feel free. And you don't feel free by being stuck at your phone screen all day. And now you're self-conscious about what others might think about you. That's the opposite. And so that book definitely goes hand into how to unlock yourself. Also, How to Not Give a F is a really good book. That's what started it off for me. But really good books all around, especially if you want to do anything sort of social media related. You cannot care. You just have to have immense amount of self-belief, and you just have to have faith in yourself that no one else can stir you up for.
For sure. Final thing. I notice watching your videos, a lot of people say there's probably not one video, at least in the last year, where you don't see someone commenting and saying, "I listed because of you." Talking about you. Um, what does that mean to you to hear that from people you probably don't even know, never met, complete strangers, but they made a very serious commitment because of you?
I definitely don't take that lightly. And my very, very immature thought is like, dang, Army, do y'all see this? You know what I'm saying? Can I get like a referral bonus or something like that? But because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have seen my videos, saw that the military was not the Jarhead movie or the Captain Payne boot camp style military, and they saw my videos. They're like, yo, that dude looks like me. He talks like me. He has the same wants. You know what I'm saying? I want to look good. I want to have a lot of money. I want to have a fast car. I want to have a great freaking life full of adventure and free travel. I'm going to do what that dude's doing. You know what I'm saying? And so it makes me feel great. It makes me feel very, very, it puts it in perspective that my actions do have a significant impact, because if my main videos talking about negative things, talking about how the military is bad, yeah, I'm gonna get people who, oh, thanks, I was gonna join the military and I'm now not because of your videos. Like the military can, without a doubt, do a complete 180 for your life. You just have to, with all tools, you just have to learn how to use the tool. In the military, there's a saying, just play the game. And that's exactly true. If you go in the military not having goals, go in the military not knowing how the military can help you or the benefits of the military, and you just go in the military and your main goal is just to join, you're not going to have the best life. If you just go in just with the mindset of how can I pass today, you're not going to go very far. You're not going to look back very fulfilled. But watching my videos, this dude went to Thailand and he's active duty military. This dude went to Bali. This dude met millionaires. This dude's in a freaking Ferrari and he's active duty military. He's only 23 years old. This dude's bought his own house at 23 years old. Oh my freaking God, I'm going to join the military. And this is not join the military. Hell no. The military is the place where you join because ultimately you want to serve your country. Ultimately, if we go to war, you accept the roles and responsibilities of what a soldier does during times of war. Right now, I need to stress this enough. We're not at war. We do not know what the United States, we have not been at a full scale war. We've been occupying places in the Middle East where there's been strikes and you get the occasional casualty, but a full blown war, we have not, as a country, have not been in. So who knows what it's going to be like if the military actually is at war? Who knows what people's thoughts are when they start seeing the media of American troops getting our asses beat? You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody's coming back home. You know what I'm saying? So the side of the military that I portray is peacetime military because that's what we're at right now. But who knows what it will look like if we're at times of war? And I just cannot stress that enough. So make sure you at least mitigate that by joining a non-combat MOS because it's okay to not want to be an infantry grunt. You could totally still serve. Me doing dental is still helping the warfighter. But it makes me feel great. It makes me feel honored. It inspires me to keep making good videos. It inspires me to keep up the good fight because it is definitely hard. It's hard to be consistent. It's hard to do this for 6 years. I've been doing YouTube for 6 years, and there's definitely been times where I've taken a break. I'm like, damn, is it even worth it? I've been doing 6 years, and I haven't even hit 100,000 subscribers yet. Some people might think that's a failure, honestly, because I do. I'm not going to – you've been doing this for 6 years, and you're still not – it's crazy. And so it is what it is, but I love it. You know what I'm saying? That's not why I do YouTube. I do YouTube because my son is going to look at my videos one day, and he's going to look at his fucking father going to Thailand, doing Muay Thai, driving a goddamn Ferrari, and he's not going to have a choice to fucking not become something of himself. He's not going to have that thought of, I am just going to sit at home and do nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's ultimately why I do it. I love making videos, and I want it to be a time capsule of myself, and I want my son and others that I care about to take inspiration from it, and I've been doing that. And so as long as that's doing that, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Have you heard of Andrew Tate?
I sure have. Andrew Tate, Tate brothers. They're actually in America right now, I think, right?
They are. They came back. I think they're going back soon. They're still going through their legal stuff. You sound like him a little bit. When you I mean it as a compliment more so. So don't take that the wrong way. But when you talk about the cars and all that stuff. So what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate?
So my personal thoughts on Andrew Tate, I don't hate him. I don't love him. I would say I actually did a video going around college campuses asking people what their opinions of Andrew Tate. And this is where I go into the whole spiel of social media controlling you on what to think. If you want me, okay, your question is what are my thoughts on Andrew Tate? So correct me if I'm wrong. The main point of the opposition who don't like Andrew Tate is because he was a key player in sex trafficking and a ringleader of just, I wouldn't say prostitution, but like maybe abuse or something like that. I
Well,
don't know.
those are the accusations. Meaning he's been accused, but as of yet, we're recording this on March 15th, 2025. He hasn't been convicted of anything, but he's been accused. Yeah, those are the accusations.
Okay, okay, so right, me being me, I will absolutely despise wrong for whoever does it, right? But I will not. I refuse to be told what to think, what to believe, and how to feel. And so, as of right now, my viewpoint on Andrew Tate is a motivational person, a motivational figure who knew how to use the internet for his advantage to gain mass fame and influence in a very short period of time. He basically polarized the entire world which is impressive. Many people spend years doing that or trying to do that. And if you actually look at some of his videos where he's not, if you actually look at some of his videos where he is talking about like actual stuff and not like, I mean, because like he says himself that he jokes, like people make jokes, but obviously at a certain level, you can't really be making jokes like that and stuff like that. But bottom line, I don't love or hate Andrew Tate, but I always encourage people to take the good with the good and take the bad from the bad. If you think Andrew Tate is a terrible person, as long as you can justify that with 100% certainty and 100% fact, and not just because you were told to, that's absolutely okay. But if you think Andrew Tate is an inspirational person, you find his mentality of stoicism and not being emotional and doing the things that you don't want to do but doing them because you need to, you think that's uplifting and inspiring you to make you an overall better person, overall contributing to the society, I'm all for it. I'm not going to be the type of person like, oh, Andrew Tate's bad because some fucking somebody, no, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I would rather, oh, this might be a little controversial take, but I would rather have Andrew Tate than fucking, some, like, if you were to ask me, if I caught my son watching Andrew Tate or Sexy Red, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be mad if he's watching Andrew Tate. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I would rather my son to watch Andrew Tate than Sexy fucking Red because Sexy Red right now, she's not being banned off of fucking the internet. She's promoting, whatever the hell she promotes. And this is just a very, very vague argument, but there are worse people, there are better people. As long as you're focusing on yourself, you're good. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't care. I'm too busy focused on bettering myself.
Mhm. For sure. I think part of it, I feel the same way when it comes to Andrew Tate. I don't know him to have an opinion of him really. Um, he definitely doesn't know me. Um, and so my opinion of him doesn't even matter. But if I had one, but I do think if you're going to look at somebody and there's going to be things you disagree with from everybody. And I do think, in terms of the role he plays and influence, he fills a vacuum for men in particular. You don't have a lot of men, quote unquote, influencers. I think you brought up a valid point. Some of the tweets from Sexy Red or posts or whatever we call them now from Sexy Red are absolutely insane. But if a man posts that, you know, it's the end of his world, right? But she posts it and it's like it's normal. And I think that's part of the culture that has, sexualized women, all that stuff. But she doesn't get the same flack as he would. And I think that's a very valid point. And Anthony Mackie, I think that's his name. He's an actor or something. He brought up this point the other day. This went viral, essentially saying that society has destroyed masculinity or the sense of masculinity in society. And so he's teaching his sons to to be essentially countercultural in terms of how he responds. And he sounded a little bit like what you would think something that Andrew Tate would say. Um, so I think he feels a vacuum. I think Andrew Tate is feeling a vacuum of speaking to particularly men who, you know, aren't sure of themselves and pushing them in a direction to be sure of themselves. And I think he has I think there's valid points in being desirable, making sure you are desirable to women and to the world more so, right? And having certain principles and not moving with emotion. Although you will feel emotion because you're a human being, not making decisions from a place of emotion. I think those are valid things that we all could at least agree on. But for some reason, I think it's more so the way the messenger is giving the message that people take issue with. But my thing is, like you said, take the good, leave the bad. Like, take what you can use and leave it. And so yeah, I think it's a very complicated situation. And again, at least in America, although I think he's being prosecuted in
Romania or UK.
Romania. I think it's both actually, but I think Romania is like the active ongoing thing. At least in
To
America, it's guilty. It's innocent to proven guilty, but people are doing this whole thing of guilty. You're guilty, and then you have to work to prove your innocence. I don't know. I don't think that's how it should go. So
to add to that point though, I just as a creator, I've been doing this for 6 years, and every piece of media that I see now, every influencer that I come across it's an act in some way, shape, or form. You're portraying yourself a little bit more exaggerated than how would you per se portray yourself if you're just talking in person.
mhm,
And it's good TV, it's good social media, it's good entertainment. Andrew Tate unlocked Andrew Tate, like many others who I'll point out later on, just knows how to play social media to get people to react, get people to be emotional. And if you're unable to see past that, of course you're gonna be like, oh, he's this, he's that, but he's playing you. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then people like Charleston White, same thing. I would say he's exactly just like Andrew Tate. His overall message is good with the whole Black community not promoting violence and gang culture, but what is he gonna do? Because he's in trying to be nice all the positive way, which he said in an interview, but he's never gotten attention until he started coming for the rappers, starting being disrespectful to King Von and such and so on. It's just an act. It's just an act. And I personally would not. It's very it's not everybody's built to do that. You know, I try to do it in my videos in the way that I want to, because I'm not this energetic dude all the time. But you're
yeah,
not gonna watch me just sit here and tell you as I go through my day. I want you to feel in it with me too. It's just an act, and if you don't understand that, you're gonna think it's real life.
yeah, for sure. I think that was part of what's the dude that died? He had a heart attack or something. Uh, he wore glasses. Women hated him.
Oh, Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, that was part of his thing. Like I think had he was buttoned up and nice, and you know, he probably wouldn't have been as prominent as he was. But I think his overall message, I think there was something to his message. Maybe, he was a little tough. He could be brutal, more than I would. But I think the intent there was good, or at least it appeared to be. So but I didn't mean like the whole when I said you remind me of Andrew Tate, I didn't mean like in a bad way. I think more so in the sense of, you know, that self-responsibility type thing that you're very big on. That's what I was talking about. So don't hope you didn't take that like the wrong way. um yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I think this will be good to whoever watches. And I think you've already had a major impact on people, particularly men. I look at the comments, I'm like, wow. Um, again, people are making big life decisions because of what you say. And I think that's a good thing. Um, uh, what else? I guess my final question would be this. What is something that people don't know about you, or what's a misconception about you?
I have never been asked that question before. That's a good question. What is a misconception about me? That's a really good question. What do people it I would say it's probably not a misconception, but like I really genuinely do hope that people do not separate myself from them, separate the things that I've achieved and I've accomplished from them. Something that I could do, only I could do. No, I need you guys to realize that everything that I do you can do. I got a freaking 41 on my ASVAB. My man JSU got a better ASVAB score than me, but the shit that I do is based off of my pure willingness to not be scared of taking the first step, because that's essentially what is the determining factor of you and whatever your goal life to look like. Your first step. I will take that first step all day and night, because nobody's going to do it for you. And then when you're on your deathbed, when you're married with kids, when you feel like, because this is what haunts me. When I'm married with kids, or I'm married and not, or you know what I'm saying, I'm established, I do not want to look back down the line and be like, damn, I should have did that. Damn, I should have explored that. Because you could be anxious, but as soon as you think of your higher self, he doesn't give a F of what you're being anxious right now. You're not going to remember what you're anxious right now. You're going to remember that step that you took that potentially led you to this opportunity that's making your life fucking awesome. You know what I'm saying? So I hope people don't misunderstand me just because you see me on social media, and I myself kind of have that separation between like, oh, this dude has 1 million subscribers. This dude has 1 million, because like, personal story, when I was a kid, I thought $1 million, I thought a millionaire, they were like superstars, until I flew out to Texas. One of my, I would say, my good friend and mentor, Adonis, this dude's just like me. He's 30 years old with a fucking Ferrari, and we're just shooting the shit. He's just done a certain level of things repetitively enough to get him to the point of having a Ferrari and having all this amount of money. And you too. It's just representation is really important. And so hopefully, especially for everybody, but especially for the people who look like me, you guys can see that you too can do whatever the fuck you want. Like literally. That's the role, that's the main thing about life. Doing what you want, not doing what you think society tells you to do. Because you have to answer to God and yourself. And if it's glorifying God, you're all good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's so true. I've never been like this. That's I can't say that. I think a lot of people play victim, um, whatever for whatever reason, because of whatever reason, and I think people are so committed to being the best victim that they don't ever become the best version of themselves. Um, and and part of my big thing is becoming the best version of myself. And things will happen, life happens as they say, but don't be so committed to being that victim that you don't work to be the best that you can be, regardless of whatever your quote unquote backstory. I think it's like this meme that goes around like, yeah, everybody has a story, like suck it up. Like, everybody has a story, but it's up to you to how you decide to essentially use that, and allow it to progress your life. So how can people find you? Obviously, I'm pretty sure my little YouTube channel is not gonna help you, but how can people find you if they happen to you know subscribe to me but haven't yet to subscribe to you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube. My YouTube channel is my name, Aaron Battley, and I'm also on Instagram, TikTok at I am Aaron B7, and then you guys can find my content there. I pretty much have been documenting my life from high school to now. While being in the military, I've accomplished things like air assault training, meeting millionaires, interviewing people in charge of hundreds, if not thousands, of troops in the United States of America. And it's just been a wild ride. And I think you would find value out of it, because at the end of the day, my goals are to educate, inspire, and entertain. And so that's where you can find me.
Definitely, I think you do all that. Again, thank you for taking the time, man, on your Saturday
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
for sure.